We found out more information as to why exactly EA didn't just cancel the Black Panther game, but also shut down the studio responsible for squandering so much money and so much time. Cliffhanger Games was established to shepherd the Black Panther IP and be a tentpole release for Electronic Arts, but instead, didn't just squander 1 year of time, 2 years of time, or even 3 years of time. No. All they managed to do with 4 years working on this project was staff their halls with a ton of activists and waste more money than we will ever get receipts for. So the Black Panther game reportedly spent 4 whole years in pre-production before canceling and taking this production out of its misery, out behind the woodshed, old Yeller style. But how do you, we talked about this when the game in the studio was closed at the end of last week. How do you mess up such a slam dunk? Black Panther has infinitely awesome and easily transferable powers and aesthetic to a video game. It's the same thing with Monolith, Warner Brothers, and the Wonder Woman game. It's a ready-made turnkey blueprint at the ready. Black Panther has decades of source material. Same with Wonder Woman. They are known the world over, but the fact that you have more activists than developers working on these projects, I guess that explains why everything went up in smoke. But last week, Electronic Arts confirmed the cancellation of the Black Panther game and the closure of developer Cliffhanger Games. Now, thanks to reporting from Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, we finally know why the project was scrapped, and it wasn't a creative dispute or a Marvel license issue. According to sources close to the matter, the studio simply couldn't get a Black Panther game out of pre-production after 4 years of internal development. You're telling me, okay, you couldn't go, hey, we got this story about this superhero, and he's going to be, I don't know, going feral, bouncing off of walls, climbing walls, just ultimately doing the Spider-Man stuff without needing the webs, okay? Like, we could do all of this stuff with an iconic and beloved character. We just can't get the concept together. That is retarded. It is functionally and patently retarded. Cliffhanger Games was established in 2021 with former Shadow of Mordor producer Kevin Stevens. Yep, see, so funny how all of this stuff ends up coming full circle because, Shadow of Mordor, who produced that game, are at Monolith Studios, which befell the exact same fate of Cliffhanger Games. Funny how this all goes hand in glove. At the helm, at the clear directive, build a AAA single-player Black Panther title under EA's Originals labels, despite being announced in 2023. So at that point in time, you already had 2 years of pre-production, and you had nothing except for a logo and a splash screen. Good stuff. And hitting a new internal milestone recently, the game still hadn't left pre-production, a phase that usually lasts 12 to 18 months in most AAA development. And that would also be for a complex idea as opposed to here's a ready-made character. You don't need to craft your characters. You don't even need to, craft a villain or anything like that. Here, just literally pick up any of these hundreds of books and you have a story ready to go. Nope, couldn't figure that out. Over 4 years. Jesus Christ. EA executives were frustrated that the game had not left pre-production phase after nearly 4 years in development, Schreier wrote, citing people familiar with the decision. Many of the developers at Cliffhanger had reportedly been hired in just the past year. What? And some had been with the studio only a matter of weeks when the cancellation hit. The abrupt nature of the shutdown took employees by surprise, despite signs that EA had grown increasingly concerned with the production's pace. But the people that were there long-term included Danny Lalonde, need to get her name correctly, otherwise she'll probably try to end up suing me for defamation or some crazy shit like that. But EA made no suggestion that the internal controversies influenced its decision. The studio faced growing public scrutiny in recent months related to social media history and hiring practices of some Cliffhanger's developers. In 2023, Cliffhangers hired Danny Lalonde, an associate narrative director and former contributor to Sweet Baby Inc. In a resurfaced 2021 panel from game developers of Color Expo, Lalonde actually touted the fact that she had no white people on her development team for her indie game Validate. And that's wonderful. If you're going to be doing an indie game, you go ahead and, I don't care who you hire to work on a project like that. That's your own little thing. You want to staff it with a bunch of your friends and they just happen to look like you. I thought diversity was our greatest strength, but okay, cool. That's just a weaponized concept once again being brought to light. But you go ahead and work on shit like that. But if you're going to be, I don't know, man, if you're going to be adapting like a Marvel character, even though you think, because we've also seen these posts go around before, and there's one, like there's a couple that'll just never ever leave my mind. It's the one that gives me absolutely no hope for anybody who habitually uses Reddit. It's one of the funniest things that I've ever seen in my life. Tangent, of course. Now, somebody who has like 2 or 3 master's degrees or something like that took an IQ test and ended up, getting the results back and was absolutely shocked and befuddled by it, and ended up having to respond to the place that, executed the test and needed to have confirmation on the results. And yes, it was in fact confirmed that they have a sub 70 IQ and they are in fact functionally retarded. And that just really warms my heart. It's like, oh, your average Redditor is in fact a designated crayon eater. And the other post that is just going to constantly live rent-free in my mind is somebody with a horrific grammar and even worse spelling, saying that white people made Chicago. I had a picture of it, just the desolate south side, which, funny, if you want to break down the demographics of the people that live there, that's totally fine. But no. Here's the picture of Chicago, and Chicago was made by white people. And here you have Wakanda made by black people. Why should we pay attention? Why should we listen to anything that white people have to say? It's like, it's just, this is why taking anybody online seriously is just it's a fool's game. And as such, you unironically have other people out there, other people that look conspicuously a lot like Lalanders there, constantly touting the success of Wakanda because people unironically think that movies are real life, okay? That you need to learn about the rise of Nazism by watching Captain America. Like, these people are fucking stupid. Like, there's no other way to put it. Like, if you want to cite documentaries, you have to also understand that a lot of that shit is for entertainment purposes. Want to get the nitty gritty? You want to actually get the facts? Read the fucking papers. Believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. Confirm everything. But no. They'll think that, oh, yeah, only black people could tell stories about black people, and Black Panther is a black superhero, even though created by, you go ahead and take a look at that. What's that? Stan Lee. Is he black? No, exactly. These ideologues, man, they're cancer to anything that you work on, and a parasite to the gaming backside. Alyssa Mercante, responding to somebody that she is actively suing for defamation. How well is that working out for you? But Smash JT saying we need to pull every lever to get activists out of the gaming industry. I mean, getting rid of them, it's step one. It's incredibly important, but getting people that are actually competent, because even if you do get rid of activists, I mean, we've kind of seen with the Lilo and Stitch remake, like, even if they aren't overtly pushing an ideology or a message, there's just a sheer lack of a sheer lack of competency and quality in mainstream entertainment. But yes, getting rid of the activists, it would be better. It's not a full solution. It's not the final solution for video games, okay? But we're getting a little bit closer. But yeah, the sweet baby ink sweeper and a current expert at putting fries in bags, Mercante, exhausting dealing with this man, truly. And as Grums points out, we don't need activists in gaming, just devs focus on creativity and fun. There is zero value add to putting activists in charge of game development. In fact, it's a good way to make sure your game fails. Case and fucking point. We're even at a point in time now where if you staff your company with activists, it will fail before you even release your game. Where you just spend millions and millions of dollars on a surefire hit in pre-production. Jesus. But yes, more information on this cancelled project. EA's Black Panther, reportedly axed due to lack of progress, would have featured T'Challa, Killmonger, and Shuri defending Wakanda from a Skrull invasion. Oh, so you had a plan. That sounds like a pretty decent plan, okay? Doesn't sound too far-fetched. I would imagine there's probably a comic book run of that, and yeah, if you would have had story with those 3 protagonists, or, positioning them, or as such against an incoming Skrull invasion, that could have been cool. You could have little mini bosses everywhere. Like, that could have been, yeah, very easy. Even with my tertiary knowledge of the source material, I know who Black Panther is. Obviously, I know who Shuri is. I've never watched the Black Panther movie because, I have a certain amount of taste. But even I could come up with a concept of this in less than 12 to 18 months, let alone 4 fucking years. But anyways, while little was known about Cliffhanger Studios' work on the EA Black Panther prior to both the game's recent cancellation and the studio's simultaneous shuttering, a new post-mortem report has revealed not only does actual details about the scrapped Marvel video game's Wakanda-centric premise, but also that its axing was due to its apparent lack of progress on its development. Yes, we went through that, but I want to get to the story mechanics about how this is just an egregious waste of resources. So in terms of its story, the need for such political navigation would have been necessitated by both Black Panther's mantle being up for grabs, as well as Wakanda's simultaneous stealth invasion by shape-shifting Skrulls. Choosing between various playable heroes from the comic book universe, with confirmed options including T'Challa, Killmonger, and Shuri as their avatar, players would have to not only play nice with fellow Wakandans in order to earn the right to serve as the country's signature defender, but also carefully root out the various Skrulls who sought to bring the African utopia to its knees. Yeah, interesting premise. Like, cut print perfect. The system bringing it with it an admirably ambitious development scope. It was sadly this very same ambition that led to the end of Cliffhanger Games' operations. Is it sad though if they couldn't nail down this incredibly easy premise? The team had been moving slowly due to an elongated ideation period and also struggles of simultaneously building a game in a studio, said people familiar with the title's changes, wrote Schreier. It didn't help. The people said that Cliffhanger was based in Kirkland, Washington, an expensive city that would need to pay top salaries, especially now that EA has put an end to remote hiring. Oh, that's very interesting, right? In the hub of Western game development in the Seattle, Washington area, oh, they've priced themselves out of the market. Very interesting how that always tends to work out with all of these leftists. Wow, we're paying the top talent is, never used to be a problem, but now you just want to have all of this corporate bloat because of, your base level incompetence and enforced mediocrity into these places and positions of power. Interesting how it always tends to shake out this way. EA ultimately decided that the game was not far along enough for their taste, with Schreier noting that those familiar with the project at EA told me that the executives were frustrated with the game that has not left pre-production phase in nearly 4 years of development. These frustrations apparently led to the events of May 9th. Following a surprise 30-minute meeting, EA officially pulled the vibranium-coated plug on Cliffhanger Games and Black Panther. Wow, we didn't hear about this development until, 2-3 weeks later? Interesting. So you had a plan, you had an idea, but you couldn't get it going because the people that you had in these positions were too fucking incompetent to make it happen. Should serve as a lesson, but will it? Oh, we're going to have to see moving forward. Are we going to see more cancellations like this? And more studio closures? Oh, very, very likely, as the AAA Western gaming industry continues to evolve and change. I think this week, with Summer Games Fest coming out on the 6th, we're going to be seeing a lot of announcements, everybody wanting to get out ahead of GTA 6. I'd imagine we're going to be seeing a cavalcade of releases this holiday season and this spring to get out ahead of just that veritable tsunami on the horizon. But also, with that need and desire to get out ahead of GTA 6, now what all of these games that have long been in development, your Fables, your Perfect Darks, what exactly are they looking like after these protracted pre-development and pre-release cycles? What exactly are they doing with their time? There's going to be a big microscope and a big focus on figuring out what exactly is going wrong, how we can go ahead and adapt to the evolving situation moving forward, and how we can go ahead and purge our halls of all of these toxic activists. There's going to be a lot of this stuff moving forward, and I, for one, am heralding a much brighter future. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Coswell, and I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.